Hi, it's Dale Eleni McCready here. I haven't done a little update for a while. With everything that's been going on, I've sort of been pushing these things into the background a bit. But I'm getting bored now because I'm at home the whole time, like everyone is, and it's time to sort of do a little update and catch you up with how I've been. So it's 18th of April, and I've been in lockdown for pretty much a month, I think. It's quite a few months now since my facial feminization surgery, and that's healing up pretty well. Like I really don't even think about it too much anymore. There's still some numbness in my lip, but it's become so normal that I don't even think about it. It just is what it is, and one day I'll probably feel normally here again and be surprised, but it doesn't really bother me, so it doesn't really matter that much. I just kind of cope with it as it is. What else has been happening? Oh yeah, so the surgery. I keep going on that subject for a little bit. I'm obviously not used to doing this, so this is a bit of a restart for me in some ways. It's healed up really well. My chin's still kind of a little bit lumpy through here, but partially that is also to do with I did a major electrolysis session in Belgium just before the lockdown. In fact, I rode on my motorcycle back through a locking down Belgium onto the Eurotunnel where you weren't allowed to touch anything, and went straight home. And that was the lockdown beginning for me. So the last thing I did was get a full day of electrolysis right across my face with anesthetic, which meant I couldn't feel it. I could feel the anesthetic needle every now and then as they poked me with it, and then I went numb. But then I couldn't feel the electrolysis, which was great. But I blew up like a balloon for 3 days afterwards. Not a bad thing to do just before lockdown because no one saw me. But I felt pretty terrible, and I looked like the elephant woman for a few days there. And I've still got quite a lot of what you would call what looks like acne scarring because of the electrolysis, and they do assure me it will go away. It just takes a long time for the skin to heal. It's quite a traumatic thing to do, to zap the follicle, with electricity and heat repeatedly for like 8 hours in a day. So it takes some time for these things to kind of readjust. So that's been great. Facial feminization surgery, I'm very happy with. I sort of lost the dimple in my chin, but I think that'll come back in time. I don't know. It sort of look like this is what I look like now, and I'm kind of used to it, and I'm much happier with it, and people perceive me as more feminine, so that's really good. I see photos of myself from older, and they look really strange now. With the HRT and the FFS together, there's such a break between how I used to look and how I look now that feels like a slightly different person, and that's okay. I don't mind that. I'm very happy with how it's progressing, how my HRT is progressing. I have slightly more in terms of bustiness, not huge, but there's actually something there now that's noticeable, and kind of like catches me out every now and then, bumping it or just feeling my chest in a different way. That's quite affirming for me. I'm actually very happy to have breast growth, and it's a very slow process. It's just taking its own sweet time, but I expect that to carry on for maybe even another full year before it's settled down into whatever form they'll end up being. But interesting nonetheless. Yeah, but I'm only just starting to notice running things kind of bouncing around there, which is a new thing for me. So let's get on to the thing that's everyone's talking about, of course, and I couldn't really comment on anything else at this period of time in the world. But trans in the time of coronavirus. I work in the film industry. I'm a cinematographer, so I film things, not normally filming myself. I film other people, actors, performing drama, and I'm relatively successful at it. I'm quite busy most of the time. Now, I booked myself a big holiday after my facial surgery to make sure that I was nicely recovered and also had a chance to go home and visit my family and things. And I was just about to get back to work on a new contract that was only going to be a couple of months long. In fact, it would have finished, in another month probably from now. So it was quite a short contract anyway. But it was something I was looking forward to because I really wanted to get back to work, and I also didn't have any income since the end of November. So all of a sudden we have a lockdown, and I could see this coming a little bit as I was traveling around the world through Hong Kong to New Zealand and back from January. I could see the virus was growing and there was an exponential rate involved, so that was always a worry to me. And I was half expecting to get the call from my job saying, no, that's it, we can't do it. And sure enough, we had lockdown, and then there was a general lockdown, so everyone's at home. We're now, it's announced we're locked down for at least another 3 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if it was longer. We're just hitting the peak of cases and mortality, hopefully, in London and the UK, although I still think it's going to carry on for a bit. And the film industry is almost impossible to get back to work until we have real control over this thing, because we work in big groups from all over the country, usually in very close quarters, all touching the same equipment. It's very difficult for us to film a television show in any sort of environment where we have contagion as an issue, because in general, to give you an idea, when the flu goes around, everyone on the crew gets it usually, because we're working very hard, we've got long hours, we're tired, usually in a lot of people jammed into a small room, and all touching the same equipment, all interacting with each other, all breathing all over each other. It's a perfect incubation career, if you will, to have. So I don't see how I'm going to get back to work for a while. I don't have any income. I've made a little bit of money out of putting some photographs from an old TV show, Merlin, online on a website, which is www.dalemccready.com/Merlin archive. I put 1,600 photographs that I had filmed. I had taken when I was shooting the TV show Merlin, and I know the fans are really always after new images, so I put a whole bunch, and I just put a donation button on there and hoped that people would donate, and that's made a few £100s for me, which has really helped in my my rent and food, so that's great. And I had a few £1,000s saved, and I immediately organised a loan through my personal bank just to cover my rent and food, because I thought that the very least I want to not have to worry about being able to cover my rent for 4 or 5 months, because I had a feeling very quickly that this sort of thing would happen. So you could do a easy application online through the phone app. And I just did that on the first night. I felt like the jobs were winding up, and I'm really glad I did that. It just took the worry away. I have to pay that back, and that's okay. And but it's just money at the end of the day. The biggest thing is to be able to live comfortably and just get by. Feed myself, pay my rent, which are really the main things that I need to do. I have other bills through my business. I've covered those. I have with savings in the business, so. Stopping everything and just living day to day, I'm okay for a few months' time. And if it carries on much longer, then I'll look into other possibilities. But I'm okay. I'm quite comfortable. I have things to do. I have a big flat that I'm only sharing with one other housemate at the moment. So, we're just rolling around, filling our days and working on the garden, reading books and doing videos. And, so I've got it very easy as far as most people go. Now, there is a real difference in this whole time, though, as far as being trans goes, because I measure my transition a lot by being out in the world and being social and getting dressed up and going out and doing things and being able to present as myself. And the really strange thing is that having no one to present to, really. I've spent a lot of time in just t-shirts and jeans and a cardi. I usually put a necklace on or something like that. I don't often do my makeup and things, but I'm just trying to make a bit of effort, especially today, knowing I was going to do a video. But I'm rattling around a lot on my own and not talking to anyone, not seeing anyone, not touching anyone. It's difficult, and it just also makes it really hard for me to measure my actual transition and that it's even happening. I get up every morning and I take my estrogen, and my boob's getting a little bit bigger, but as time goes by. But other than that, it's very hard to measure, because I don't have that feedback from other people, of interacting with other people, treating me in one way or another. I'm just myself in a bubble now, as we all are in this period. There's good in that, because it does strip back everything and you realize who you are and what you need. is a lot less than what you might have thought you needed in other times of abundance and income. So that's really nice to kind of resettle the things that I value. But it's really hard to gauge where I am in my transition. It just feels like it just sort of is in this amorphous state now. And I'm sure that is similar to how other people feel about other parts of their life at the moment in a lockdown environment. But last year this time I was wearing summer dresses and I was experimenting with that, and I was getting dressed up and wearing heels and things like that. And I wear slippers most of the time now, and like shorts and track pants and stuff. So there's such a difference. But then at the same time, despite that, I'm far more comfortable in myself now. I don't think about myself in those terms so much of like having to try so hard. So there are days where I'm not wearing makeup and I've just got my hair tied up, and those days are actually pretty good too, because I feel comfortable in myself, and I feel assured about who I am as a woman, and I'm still learning that and kind of really deeply trying to bring it into myself. That's still a tricky process, and I still have had many years of living as a man before, so that's still a mental adjustment to make. But yeah, I can go out much more often now. I go jogging with my hair tied up and no makeup and things, and I feel, in women's training gear, and I feel really comfortable like that. That feels really normal now. It doesn't feel unusual at all. So that's all really great steps to have. Again, I'm kind of just drifting a little bit, but like I always do in my videos, I'm drifting as well. But it's just, I just don't have. I've got all these great dresses I really was planning to wear as the weather turned warmer and things, but like, it is really interesting. You don't just wear them for yourself; you wear them for other people to see you, and when no one else is watching, you kind of just don't wear them. I just wear jeans or shorts and a t-shirt and things. So it is really interesting how we need each other to interact and be ourselves. We are defined a little bit by about how other people see ourselves, or how we wish to have other people see ourselves. And when there's no audience, what do? Nothing, it turns out. But there you go. So what's next then for me? All going well, and this lockdown coming to an end in a month. We'll see. A month for most people. I think my job won't be around for another few months after that, a couple of months maybe. So they do think that autumn for the film industry is possible. That's what Hollywood is racing for. We might get back to work earlier than that, but we'll see. So I still have my plans for GRS at the end of the year. I've mentally partially just kicked that away, but I still have that pencil and that date to go to India and do GRS surgery. One benefit of this lockdown is that I've learnt that I can live very cheaply if I just stop spending and not, and I don't have any money coming in. All I do is have rent and food and just look after myself, and got plenty of things to entertain me. And so I feel quite different about my recovery from GRS now. Like, I know that when I do recover from it and I come home, 2 months at home, looking after myself and living cheaply, I can really afford that. I was worried about that time period and how much to have money saved up before, not just the paying for the surgery, but paying for the recovery and not being working in that time. And now I don't really worry about that, because I know I just need some money to pay my rent and some money to buy some food, and I can just tick along quite happily now. I'm getting quite used to it, and it'll be a similar time of year next year if I'm lucky. So I know I can definitely deal with it. So I still have it in the back of my mind that I might do it. And I talked to the people from Pre-Med, and they are actually having a Netflix documentary crew following people around to make a TV series about them. And so I've recorded a video for that. And so you never know, I might actually be going to India in October and actually be filmed as part of a TV show about people doing their transitional surgeries and things. So that could be really fun. I'm quite open to it because, obviously I like to talk when I'm on camera like this, and I've got nothing to hide with my transition. The more people see people transitioning and see that we're normal people and we're just doing our thing and just trying to get by, the better. And I'm an older person with a well-established, successful career. I think that's a good example to show people, and it'll be an interesting experience for my own life to do as well, because I haven't been in front of the camera much, other than being lots behind the camera. Other than this, of course. But there you go. Now, what else is there? I've got a couple of things. Yeah, a couple. I have got some notes down here because you know how I like to ramble. Other than the plans for the PPV at the end of the year, one thing when I came back from my holiday was to really kind of push forward with my career. Whoops, coronavirus stopped that one completely, didn't it? But I'm in the process of trying to get accreditation through the British Society of Cinematographers. That would be incredibly exciting if I was to get accredited. I have the New Zealand Cinematography Society accreditation now, so after my name on the credits of a TV show or movie, it says NZCS. So I'm Dale McCready NZCS, or Dale Elena McCready NZCS, or DE McCready NZCS, which is nice because it's my mum's initials, with my middle name change. And so then eventually, if I get that, I might be Dale Elena McCready BSc NZCS, and that's just a kind of a nice way that accreditation says that you are accomplished at a certain level, that there's an amount of excellence that you have achieved in your career to then carry on into further areas in career. I'm really excited if I was able to get that. It's something I'm working toward, and I'm submitting applications with other DOPs to help me, and pushing clips from TV shows I've worked on to do that. If that happens this year, that would be really wonderful. And just another way of me just kind of saying, right, transition is something I'm dealing with, but I have another rest of my life to deal with too, and that's one step of me kind of moving upwards and further in the rest of my life, which I really want to kind of move on with. Now, lastly, the other thing I'm finding with HRT and being at home a lot, maybe I've got time, so I've got time to exercise, but I haven't been feeling brilliant the last few weeks. I've been up and down, feeling a bit of a bug. Don't know what it is. It could be coronavirus, who knows? But I've been kind of like every second day kind of feeling kind of rough, then feeling okay again. I go for a run and go cycling, and then I feel kind of rough again for a day or two. But my metabolism has really changed a lot on HRT, particularly this year. I've really noticed it. I put on weight a lot more easily. I have a lot more weight around my belly, which I'd really hope to get rid of, to then put that weight back on in my body and maybe in my hips and things to help my shape a bit more. But actually keeping that weight off is a real struggle. And I have an incredibly vicious sweet tooth as well at the moment. So that's also hard because I seem to have really fallen in love with chocolate all over again. But I'm eating well. I'm getting into a good regular routine of exercise and trying to maintain, keeping those calories down. And that really helps, but it is definitely a challenge this year. The HRT, I'm really feeling that difference, that I'm putting on weight, and I had read about that was a possible side effect of HRT and estrogen, and the fact that your muscle mass goes down, you're not naturally burning the same number of calories every day that you would with more muscular sort of muscles on top of your frame. So I'm kind of larger, and I'm carrying a little bit more fat as well, and not burning it off as easily means I have to work much harder to burn it off. And now I have a much more respect for women in exercise, and that women probably working doubly hard to maintain their physique when they're training and things than men are, because men are just kind of naturally just burning calories without even thinking about it. So new appreciation for women in that respect, and learning and adjusting how I deal with my own body in this process of transition. So physically I'm really changed, and that's quite interesting, and I have to relearn how I eat and how I exercise and how I manage that from where I was before, which I had become quite comfortable with and kind of knew my own patterns. But I'm also being forgiving of myself. This is a hard time psychologically, emotionally. I have all the time in the world to go exercising. I could be cycling all day long, but I don't really want to all the time. I'm enjoying reading and doing other things and working in the garden and just being and just trying to cope with this lack of social world that we have. But yeah, so okay, I rambled on massively again, as I tend to do. But it has been a while since I've done a video, so there you go. I guess it was coming. hope everyone is doing okay and coping with the virus and the lockdown and its many forms around the world. Wishing everyone the absolute best, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll try and do some more regular updates now. I feel like I'm getting back onto the horse of video and vlogging, and I'll see you again next time. Okay, bye.